Hi, I'm KIELE JAEL. I'm a nutritional wellness chef and a sensuality coach for women, and I'm really passionate about inspiring and empowering women and men and everyone in the world to become their own wellness gurus and learn how to heal themselves through food and through sensuality rituals and tapping into their own senses and feeling much more connected to nature and themselves. Today I'm going to be talking about a few ingredients that are incredibly healing, and with those ingredients I'm going to be creating a dish out of it to show you how to combine those healing properties and foods together. This is my first video in this series I call Foods That Heal, and I'm going to be focusing on miso, asparagus, garlic, and ginger. And I'm going to be creating a broiled miso cod with asparagus. I chose these few ingredients to talk about because they're ingredients that I constantly keep in my kitchen, and I think they're worth knowing a little bit more about because they're incredibly versatile. The first ingredient that I want to talk about is miso, and I have a couple different ones here that I like to use. This one is called Miso Master. It's organic yellow white miso, and you can get this either at an Asian grocery store or you can get it at Whole Foods or any other natural food grocery store. This one I have here, this is called Hikari miso, and it's also organic white miso, and both of these are organic, non-GMO. They are also gluten-free, and white miso has a very mild, lovely flavor and pairs so well with a fish that absorbs all that yummy flavor. Miso is one of the most healing and nutritious foods for you. I have this one open. It is fermented, it's great for digestion and your gut health, and it's loaded with antioxidants, vitamins, and rich minerals that give you incredible grounding energy. It's very healing for your kidneys, your liver, your bladder, as well as your heart. The salty flavor in miso adds electrolytes back into the body and makes you feel like you come back down to earth, which is such an incredible feeling, to be more focused and make better decisions and be overall very grounded. So the first thing I'm going to do is make the sauce, and as we go on, I'm going to talk about the health benefits of every other ingredient. It's important to make the sauce first because I'm going to mix it together and incorporate all the ingredients, and then let it cool slightly, and then pour it over the fish in order to let it marinate for at least 30 minutes. If you can do overnight, even better. The fish I'm going to be using is this beautiful cod, and cod is one of those fish that it's wild caught. It is a white fish that is really great flaky texture, and it has a very high protein count, but it is also low in fat, and it absorbs this beautiful miso flavor really well. And I'm going to turn my stove onto medium heat and heat that up. And the first step I'm going to do is warm up the sake. And I'm using some unfiltered sake here. I think the taste is really, really lovely. And I'm going to simply pour it in the pan and just heat this up until it comes to a nice boil, and that's to cook off all of the alcohols in the sake so we're left with that really nice flavor. If you can see in the background, I have a pot of water boiling because that is going to be the first step of cooking the asparagus. I've got my pot on medium heat, and I poured a half cup of the unfiltered sake in here, and I'm letting it boil just to cook off all of the alcohol, and so we're left with that really beautiful, subtle, sweet flavor. Next, I'm going to take a half cup of mirin, which is a Japanese sweet cooking seasoning, and I'm going to pour this in to mix with the sake. It's important to keep it moving because you don't want the liquid to burn in any form because it's going to have that burnt bitter taste in the dish. So just move it around with a whisk and just let it combine as best as possible. The liquid is almost at a rolling boil, so I'm going to take 2 tablespoons of the miso and add it together. But before I do that, what I'm going to do is put it in a separate ramekin, and then I'm going to mix in the hot liquid to really dissolve the miso, and then pour the whole thing in. That way you don't have a lot of clumps. I like to use two spoons for this method in addition to my measuring spoon, because I end up using these 2 spoons for tasting, and I'll show you exactly what I mean by that. So I'm going to take some of this liquid and just pour it in just a little, because what I want to do is warm it up slightly and break up the miso as much as possible so it's just not as cold and it can easily be blended into the larger portion of the hot liquid, and so there are less clumps. The miso will thicken up this sauce so much, and it'll be really, really delicious. It has a little subtle difference. This one is much creamier and more smooth. So I'm just going to mix it up a little bit more and then add it in so then I can whisk it in. There's all of the sauce, and I'm just going to whisk it in. Sometimes it helps to put the pot on an angle just like this, so then that way all of the liquid is down on one end and you can easily whisk it while still keeping it on the heat. Next, I'm going to add a little bit of coconut sugar in this, and I'm going to do 2 tablespoons. Now, even though the miso is actually pretty sweet already, adding this coconut sugar, which is actually a unrefined low glycemic version of sugar, and it tastes really delicious, is actually going to penetrate the fish even more and make the flavors just so much more balanced. So I'm going to put 2 tablespoons of this coconut sugar. In, and I'm going to whisk this in. The color of the sauce just became even more of a beautiful brown color. Then just let that simmer and thicken. I've let this simmer for probably 2 minutes, and the sauce is just about at the consistency that I want, so I'm going to turn it off and take it off of the heat and just let it sit and cool down for a little bit. Next, I'm going to work on prepping the asparagus. And asparagus is one of those really lovely vegetables that gives you this really strong, boosting, purifying energy. It has lots of fiber, lots of folate, lots of vitamins A, C, and K, and is really good for your digestion. It helps with circulation in the body. It has sulfur to help with arthritis. And because it's a low oxalate food, it is a great vegetable to reduce producing hard masses in your body, such as kidney stones. So it's a really great treat to have. If you like asparagus, definitely eat more of them. So I have about a handful bunch here, and the first thing that I'm going to do is cut off the ends. I like to just put them together and then cut off about 1 inch or more all together, just like that. And of course, put the stems in my trash bowl that I keep handy as well. So this is just an added step that I like to do, but I think it is worth it to peel your asparagus stems as much as possible. These are pretty skinny, so I'm not going to go too crazy here, but if you have thicker stems than this, because they do come in a full range, it's good to peel them, because Asparagus tends to be very stringy, and the last thing that people want when they chew it, and I just found it to be such a game changer in my cooking experience, is to just lightly peel off the ends to take off this stringy bit. And it makes such a difference, especially for medium to thicker stems. I know this may seem a little bit tedious, but trust me, every time I peel asparagus and someone tastes it, and they immediately notice the difference. So it is an extra step, but it's absolutely worth it, even on these little skinny guys. Now that the asparagus is prepped and I've peeled all of it, what I'm going to do is cut them in half on an angle, and then I'm going to blanch them and then shock them in a bowl of ice water. And I've already had that prepped here. It's basically just ice with a little bit of water in it. I'm gonna put them in the salted boiling water for maybe 30 seconds and then shock them inside the ice water. And what that helps them do is cook them while still keeping the integrity of the vegetable and keeping them quite crunchy. And then shocking them helps keep the green color and making sure they don't cook anymore. Because next what I'm gonna do after that is saute them right before I end up serving. So this is almost the halfway cooking process. And I like doing all of these methods because it helps keep the vegetable much more crunchy and keeps the integrity of the flavor. So this is what I want to see. It's super bright in color and it still keeps the integrity, and watch, it's still very crispy. So you hear that? That is what I want. So this is the best method to making asparagus, I think, if you want to simply saute them without running the risk of them turning brown. So my sauce now is the perfect consistency, and this is exactly what I want it to look like. So I'm going to pour about 3/4 of this into this pan right on top of the fish. And I want to reserve some so I have some sauce to pour over the whole entire dish at the very end. This is exactly what I want it to look like. So just coat that really nicely, just like this. It smells incredible. So now this is going to go in the refrigerator for about 30 minutes. The asparagus has been soaking in the cold water for a few minutes now. I'm going to put it in this bowl that's lined with paper towels so it can just dry off before I start sauteing them. Let's prep the garlic and the ginger. Both of these are such magical spices, and they are warming internally, and they really help with digestion and nourishing your stomach, your spleen, your liver, and your large intestine. Garlic is an antioxidant, and it is very good at eliminating parasites and toxins and bad bacteria in the body. I really like the flavor of garlic, and I like to add some to pretty much everything I do and everything I cook. So today I'm just going to use 1 clove because we're going to be adding it to the rest of the sauce. And that's just going to give it that extra yummy umami flavor with tons of healthful ingredients. For this, I'm just going to do a quick mince. It's important when you're cooking and doing something like mincing garlic that is sticky and really fragrant and aromatic to enjoy the process and not rush. Sometimes we all tend to rush through cooking, but to me that hinders the digestion process, and it really works against you to enjoy the entire process. And you have to think of it in a way where the more that you are present and feel grounded and you shift your mindset to enjoy the process of cooking, the better your food will taste and the more you will be likely to cook and really love it. I'd say this is pretty minced, or as minced as I would like to get it. So what I'm gonna do now is just take it and put it in my sauce. It's important to have a damp cloth by your side so you can wipe your cutting board clean, as well as your knife. So then you can start on the next food. So next I'm going to start with ginger, and I'm just going to cut just this end knob of this piece. This is really all I need. And ginger is one of those ingredients that is also super magical. It's incredibly warming and soothing for your digestive system. It keeps your stomach and your spleen really warm because they like to be. And it's one of those magical spices that just adds a really nice, heated, subtle kick to anything that you cook. So I'm going to be using a microplane to grate the ginger into my sauce. This little bit is going to do a lot to this little bit of sauce. It's going to be fantastic. Just watch your fingers because this can be very sharp and a little bit scary. That's good. Do you see how much came off there? That is a perfect amount. That was about half of a teaspoon. I really like to use my sizzle plate. This is one of my favorite tools in the kitchen, especially for fish under the broiler. So in order to do that, I'm going to prep it with some parchment paper and then lay the fish on to broil it and then bake it. Voila. All right, the fish has been marinating for a little over 30 minutes and the color is beautiful. This is exactly how I wanted it to look. So I'm going to take the fish and put it right just like this on the sizzle plate. Now, this is a very big, hearty piece of fish. So what I'm going to do is broil it first until it looks pretty flaky and it looks almost cooked and it has a nice brown texture on top. And then I'm going to turn it down to 350 and bake the rest of it. And the consistency that I want here is a really nice, soft, flaky fish. You should never cook a fish to the point where it is really hard and tough. You want it to still be soft and very flaky and supple. Now I'm going to saute the asparagus while the fish is cooking, and it's really just going to take a little bit of olive oil, some salt, some pepper, and a squeeze of lemon juice, and that's it. And I'm only going to cook it for probably 2 or 3 minutes. Now is a good time to heat up the sauce even just a little bit. It's been at room temperature for 45 minutes or so. And so now I just want to get it loosened up a little bit and heat it up. Even though it's gonna go over a warm fish, I think just heating it up for a little bit is good. So I'm just gonna switch off the pans really quick and do this for a couple minutes and check on the fish. Something to note with fish when it's in the broiler, it's important to note that you should be turning the pan or whatever you're using quite a bit to make sure that it gets pretty even. And this is actually almost done. So I'm going to turn this, I'm going to put the oven on 350 and finish this off in the oven, take it off broil. It is just the right amount of doneness I like. It is flaky but still super moist. And it has that nice brown crispness that I really love. To finish this dish off, I'm going to just chop up some chives in about 1/2 inch little pieces and put it on top. Chives are really good for your lungs and your respiratory system because they also help get rid of toxins and parasites in the body. So anytime I can add something from the onion family in, I absolutely do. Last, I'm gonna add a little bit of black sesame seeds, and these are really great for the kidneys and the bladder. All right, there you have it. That is how you combine all of these really health supportive and healing ingredients in one dish and make it a beautiful combination of flavor and of balance and of healing. And I hope you try this at home. Let me know how you like it. If you like this video, please click like and ring the bell so then that way you get alerted as to every time I make a video. I come out with videos every Wednesday. And if you aren't subscribed, definitely subscribe to my channel for more videos just like this, where I talk about food and healing, and I talk about sensuality and how to know yourself and heal yourself as best as possible, because you only live one life. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you try it. Take care. Be well. Mwah.